Good Sunday morning, Trinidad and Tobago. We are hours away from presentation of a budget for the economy of this country, stewardship of the economy of this country for next fiscal year. A lot of questions have not been asked. A lot of questions have not been answered. Now, I know it's a Sunday morning, but I want to do this video separate and apart and different from any other videos that I do, because I want this video to be serious and I want this video to be focused, and I want us to understand that the conversations that we are supposed to be having as a nation, we are not having them. We are not having these conversations, and the people who own and operate the PNM are trusting that we won't have the conversations we are supposed to have, or that we would be distracted so that we will end up arguing nonsense, foolishness, get caught up in the distractions and not deal with the facts at hand that would safeguard and protect this country. I have some questions I want to ask this morning. But before I ask those questions, I want to read to you an excerpt from the Hansard 2009 budget debate. I want you to hear this, and I'll put it in context of what we're dealing with now, because it is very important, and I implore you to share this video. There are a lot that's going on in the country's politics designed to distract everybody, that you will get to the point where you're confused and you can't tell fish from fowl. I want you to focus your politics on two things. What is going on in the country and who brings that information to you in a factual and early state. The Progressive Empowerment Party and myself have brought information to the public months and years ahead of everybody else. Had we the opportunity or the authority to action, we would have prevented a lot that is taking place. I have said to Trinidad and Tobago categorically that Keith Rowley has a lot of questions to answer, not just Keith Rowley, but right now Keith Rowley is the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, and he has a lot of questions to answer before all manner of state organizations, including courts. You need to vote a government into office that does not have the cocoa in the sun that the UNC has, because the UNC cannot bring the PNM to justice in the same way that the PNM cannot bring the UNC to justice. They have a pact called Mutual Assured Destruction, that if PNM starts moving on UNC for its criminality, UNC will start to move on the PNM for their criminality, and the entire thing will collapse. But worse, the major money earners, and I say money earners not in a legal, ethical, moral sense, the major money earners and the major beneficiaries from corruption, benefit in the hundreds of millions of dollars, they operate both the PNM and the UNC behind the scenes. And they have no interest whatsoever in the PNM and the UNC going for each other's jugular, because they will get exposed. You do not understand, and I accept that. There was a time in my life that my life and my pursuits were more important to me than the country and the politics and budgets and what all of these people say. And I understand if you're like that today. I understand. The only problem is where we're at now in our country. We're at a critical juncture. We're at a point now where all of the important elements of state are being removed from the board. And that would mean that in a time, at some point, all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago would have only two choices: work for the 1% oligarchs who are buying up everything that we own, or do not work at all. And think about a day when the job that you work for controls your life. But I want you to hear this. Mr. Speaker, this document that I read here today, I want you to see it against, I want you all to read this book. I am recommending this book to all members of this house. It is a book by Michela Rong called It's Our Turn to Eat, the story of a Kenyan whistleblower. All of you must read it. And after you have read it, you would understand what happened to Trinidad and Tobago. This was said in the Parliament in 2009. This is in the Hansard, part of the public record and the historical record of Trinidad and Tobago. When they come after to find out what went wrong with Trinidad and Tobago, they will stumble upon this. When we had money, We had friends and carpetbaggers from China to Malaysia. And unlike the last batch of persons who were filling their bags under the UNC, who made the mistake of putting the money in Cayman and Nassau and Miami, that mistake is not being made again. The mistake is corrected. So now even if you see the document and it is screaming at you in your face, it is in Chinese. So you cannot even read it. And that has happened to Trinidad and Tobago today. And I am required to keep silent. For me, silence is not an option. Holding office is not the point. It is not an option as a citizen to have the responsibility to point out that we are doing the wrong things. Mr. Speaker, I was surprised in the budget debate after all that has transpired in that commission of inquiry. That's the commission of inquiry into UDCOT, the OFF report. It is on the internet. The public is scandalized. My colleague, the member for Caroni East, was talking about that galvanized mausoleum that they are building by the Princess Building Ground. It looks like a mutant aeroplane engine. Has absolutely nothing to do with Trinidad and Tobago. Not shape nor Bristol fashion to do with Trinidad and Tobago. He was talking about the cost of it, and the Prime Minister got up, interrupted him, and put in the parliamentary record that it is costing US $60 million. The Prime Minister is head of the cabinet. This matter has been one of great contention, yet in Hansard we are being told it is US $60 million. Mr. Speaker, I want to go back again to the record arising out of the Commission of Inquiry, because it takes a Commission of Inquiry for you, the parliamentarians, cabinet ministers, and the people of Trinidad and Tobago to know how your money is being spent. This document, the first page there is a table. You see this table, Mr. Speaker, the first item on this table submitted to Professor Uff is the North Campus of the Performing Arts, which is the one on the Princess Building grounds. Shanghai Construction Group, contract date May 12th, period 20 months. It should have finished January 7th this year, 2009. It is rescheduled to finish September 12th this year, which was a couple days ago. It should be finished. But the relevant point I am making is that the original contract value is $441 million. That is not US $60 million. This is what UDCOT is saying to a commission of inquiry. Yet we are being told in the parliament that it is US $60 million. $441 million, and the projected completion is $468 million and is likely to rise beyond that. I am asking, who is misleading the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago? Why is the Prime Minister ending up in a situation where he can get up in the parliament to contradict a parliamentary colleague and put the wrong figure on the table when this document is available? Mr. Speaker, I can tell you without fear of contradiction that every statement about these projects being within budget and within time, everyone is a wrong statement. So now we have to come to the point where we have to try to find the money to stand in the same place, not going forward, you know, but to stay in the same place. We are looking to find money. Recently, I was very troubled. I met one of our major oil company executives in Houston, and he was coming to Trinidad. And he told me we are now paying our attention to Brazil because we think that Trinidad and Tobago is no longer interested in us. So our investment arrangements is with Brazil, not Trinidad and Tobago. And that had me very worried. Because against the background of low prices in the energy sector, low production of oil, and a lot of negatives, again, this is 2009. Because against the background of low prices in the energy sector, low production of oil, and a lot of negatives, the one place we do not want to be is when people are losing interest in us as an investment location. But the people in Trinidad and Tobago, wherever they are located, whoever they are now called upon to pay from our pockets for the fun and games that were had by others. As a matter of fact, one major executive, when he was asked about his term in office, said he had fun. Fun at the expense of the people of Trinidad and Tobago. The Minister of Finance put out this document, and the only problem I have with it is that it talks about frequently asked questions, namely facts. That is an acronym that is used in the university environment. But I want to point out to the exam students, do not spell facts like that. This means facts and questions. How they might think it means the spelling of facts. They worked an example to show that a house that is $800,000 is actually value worth a rental of $2,000 a month will see a tax of $648. I want to tell the Minister of Finance that every house on the Diego Martin Main Road is over $1 million in valuation. Everyone from the oldest, and many of those households will see their taxes raised from $100 and something or less to $648 according to this example. An extra $500 is going to be a major burden on many households in this country. It can be viewed as not a lot of money and be told that in New York they pay 10% or in Texas they pay 20%. But that is not solace. That is provocation. Look at, anyway, all of that is from Keith Rowley in his response to the budget in 2009. I have the entire budget Hansard saved. So even if they take it down from the Hansard, if such a thing is possible, I've saved it and screenshot every page. And what is clear in this document is two things. One, governments are lucidly aware of what is going on in the country, and that when they come to office, what they said while in opposition changes. Now, you could go about your business today in Trinidad and Tobago, normal. But there's a reason our dollar is 7 TT to 1 US this morning. There's a reason, and it is politics. Because our dollar should be 1 to 1. Now, there are people who manufacture toilet paper and chocolate and sweet drink in Trinidad and Tobago that need it to be 7 to 1 so that they could compete in their market, but they don't run this economy. What is destroying your life is that everything that you work for has to be multiplied by 7 when you're shopping. Worse, you get less as a minimum wage or as an income in Trinidad and Tobago than they enjoy in the United States of America. There will be people who will come and tell you they live in bright, built-up, developed city where housing demands are big, so that prices are very high, and they will quote those prices. But I want you to understand that there are ways and means to live everywhere in the world affordably. I was in a negotiation to buy townhouses in Maryland that had just come on the market at the time, the equivalent of 400,000 TT dollars. A development that, if it was in Trinidad and Tobago, would be compared to Westmoreland, which sells for $3, $4, and $5 million. Our money is broken and devalued because politics has it so. Your value as a laborer digging a ditch in Trinidad and Tobago is 1/10 the value if you were in America digging that same ditch. How would that be so? How might that be so? If you are a seamstress, if you are a housekeeper, if you are a nurse, if you are a mason, a carpenter, a laborer, if you are a mechanic, if you are an engineer, a doctor, a lawyer, when you get to the United States of America, and I'm using that as an example because that is the closest approximation to the lifestyle that we want to live. So all the deals they're doing in China, nobody in Trinidad wants to live in China. The hustlers maybe, those who see China as a means for them to get rich, but they don't want to live there. They want to come back and live in a real developed country, in a real nation. China is not a real nation. And questions have to be asked about that. Questions have to be asked about that. But the questions we have to ask ourselves this morning, are we content to leave all of these unanswered questions? I want to ask a couple. Why is China the only country in this booming world that is trying to invest here? Or is that a lie? I have personally met with companies that consider themselves the largest in the world at what they do, and they have been blocked from coming to do any sort of development in Trinidad and Tobago because the deals are being made with China exclusively. The same Keith Rowley who referred to the expansion of China in Trinidad and Tobago in that 2009 budget is the same Keith Rowley who has allowed it to accelerate in Trinidad and Tobago. Because the Chinese presence in Trinidad and Tobago that was established under Bastille Pandey, Patrick Manning, that grew. Bastille Pandey first, then Patrick Manning, then Kamla Prasad Bisesa, now Rowley, that grew under each successive government. That Chinese expansion is being done at the expense of the biggest and largest in industries in the world who want to come and invest in Trinidad and Tobago and take advantage of our 24/7 summer. No snow to slow work down. Take advantage of our 1/10 the value labor so that they can manufacture and ship to North, Central, and South America. That is a massive market, almost 1 billion souls, and that they can benefit from being in Trinidad and Tobago for location and proximity to the Panama Canal. But all of those companies from all over the world, other than China, are being blocked. They're being barred. And the question I want to ask this morning, before another budget, I don't care about China's intentions, and I want you all to focus on Trinidad's actions. Forget what China wants. I want you to focus on Trinidad's actions, because China could want what they want. Trinidad has a responsibility to Trinidad. And our governments, plural, Rowley, Kamla, Manning, Pandey, all had a duty to safeguard and protect this country and to create a competitive developmental environment that countries all over the world would have been pouring investment money into this country, and we never would have had a recession. All of our people would be successful. We would have a buoyant middle class today. We would have extensive foreign exchange holdings in public and private accounts, and Trinidad and Tobago would be booming. But we're not, because there is a 1% in Trinidad and Tobago that is driven by avarice and greed, and their only concern is more. They're in competition with each other, and they would use anything, China, whatever, to cut the throats of all of the people of Trinidad and Tobago if it in any way advanced their position. And I want to ask, is it that China facilitates Trinbagonian politicians by hiding kickbacks and illegal proceeds in banking accounts in China, where the Western world and the rest of the world can't scrutinize it? Is it that all of the politicians and public office holders involved in all of these deals that are facilitating the expansion of Chinese interests, China in Trinidad and Tobago, are they being paid commissions, kickbacks, and corruption dollars in China? Is that what is going on? Is it easy because China has a lot of dirty money to launder? Chinese businesses, when they land in a country, the first beachhead that they establish is a criminal underworld. The Chinese criminal underworld in Trinidad and Tobago is pushing out the formerly Syrian and white-owned criminal underworld. We're talking here at a level of narcotics dollars and underground economy. We're talking this in our little country. All of this is happening. And there is a disconnect between the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and the government. There is nothing there that manages that. Our people are at risk. Our country is at risk. When I say to Trinidad and Tobago that to stop the guns and to stop the drugs and to stop the illegal importation of US currency, dirty US currency, proceeds from the international drug trade is brought here by the ton. They measure, they weigh, they don't count. They weigh this money and they bring it into Trinidad and Tobago and they launder it through restaurants and nightclubs, but most importantly, through massive government contracts. Massive government contracts are used to launder at a massive scale, and that money is easily paid out. Hold a $10,000, hold a $20,000, hold $100,000, because they're paying you that in cash. How you account for it is up to you. Which is why, again, the country needs to ask Camille Robinson Regis, that $143,000 that you pulled up in the First Citizens and the Republic Banquet in that brown paper bag, where did that money come from? And we cannot stop asking that question until it makes sense, because the two banks say she lied. And nobody in Trinidad and Tobago is staying focused on that. Because if you bring Camille Robinson Regis to justice where that money is concerned, and I'm asking Ms. Francois at the Financial Intelligence Unit this morning, where did Camille Robinson Regis get that bag of money that she tried to deposit in a bank? And even though that is a small item, in the game of moving pieces that could bring the corruption empire down, that question, the answer to that question, like these other questions, is going to help us right-size our country by bringing all of those who may have been involved in illegal and criminal activity to justice, regardless of what office they hold. I am given information on a daily basis about senior police officers and rackets that they're running. We have information that if put into government tomorrow will tear the entire corruption playhouse down. We will tear it down. And because a lot of these people have been involved in moving funds from Trinidad and Tobago, that it becomes international racketeering, international crimes, that we could use the state, the resources of the states to whom they sent the money. We could use the resources of those states. It is why the best jurisdiction to deal with Ish and Steve and everybody involved in the Piarco Airport corruption would have been Miami, because we wouldn't have had to worry about the cost of that trial. We spent $100 million at last check trying to prosecute Ishwa Galbaransing and Steve Ferguson from Maritime Insurance under Bastille Pandey from the $1 billion-plus racket that was Piarco Airport. We have failed to prosecute them, yet their co-conspirators, Guterres and others, went to jail in the United States. They confessed to the crime. They outlined everything that Ish and Steve and the rest of them were involved in. A former Minister of Finance, a former Attorney General in Trinidad and Tobago. So the Progressive Empowerment Party tells you, because they will tell you, the court will take 100 years. No, it won't. We extradited everybody. Once you are wanted or guilty of an infraction to do with corruption in any other nation, we send you there. Deal with that. To limit the amount that we have to deal with, because it's a large volume. And Trinidad and Tobago cannot go to sleep tonight without asking Camille Robinson Regis and Keith Rowley and Faris Al-Rawi, where did Camille Robinson Regis get that bag of money from? And until she could answer, it must be an active police investigation, and she should be made to step down from public office. Why is China the only country in a booming world trying to invest here? Why? Is that a lie? Is it that the entire world is trying to invest here, and I am calling on all of the agents of all of the companies that have made any sort of entreaty to governments past and present and were denied. I want you to contact me. We are compiling a list of information so that we could prove to Trinidad and Tobago that there was never supposed to be a recession in Trinidad and Tobago, and our dollar should at worst be 3-to-1 to the United States dollar. And at 3-to-1 to the United States dollar, we could peg our entire economy, including our minimum wage, to the United States minimum wage and their cost of living, because the most amount of exports and imports that take place in Trinidad and Tobago takes place with the United States of America. And if we could close our cost of living gap, all we need to do is the people in Morva, Beetham, Lavantil, Sealots, Maloney, Aruka, La Hoqueta, Mbakade, Enterprise in Chagonas, if we close the gap between what you earn and what you could buy with it, we will start to end crime and poverty in this country. If we close the gap between real earnings and the cost of living at minimum wage, you will see a lot of people putting out a lot of sensational videos, talking a lot of nonsense, and they're going to distract you, and you're going to spend your time listening to fools baying at the moon, everybody jockeying for a position. But nobody is talking to you about what is our reality and what could be. And that is the only purpose of the Progressive Empowerment Party, to inform, educate, and empower. We say to you without fear of contradiction that Trinidad and Tobago not only should never have encountered a recession, we should never have had one negative quarter, but we should be booming. Trinidad and Tobago should be going through a boom right now, but a boom would have prevented them from stealing Petrotrin, TSTT, which they're about to steal, and they're moving on WASA. You are allowing it by your vote, by allowing them to tell you that you're black first or you're Indian first, so let your black bandits or your Indian bandits rape the country, and it's not them. The people who are raiding, plundering, and pillaging, that making off with this country's money, are neither black nor Indian. They are getting their share. They're getting their crumbs. We move a contractor under Kamala, who in 5 years went from every bailiff in Trinidad looking for this man for outstanding debts, bounce checks, and payments. And in 5 years, he became a billionaire under Kamala. He actually flew a man from the States to Trinidad, paid for his ticket to bring him here, to bring and hand him a Rolex watch that he wanted to buy, that he couldn't wait the shipping time. That man was able to buy penthouses in Westmoreland's and Shoreland's properties in the tens of millions of dollars. That same man was a check bouncer evading bailiffs prior to Kamala. These people get big money, and as big as his money sounds, that is joke. That is joke. There are a lot of them who have a lot of questions to answer, who are scared to death of the possibility, even as remote as it is, that there could be a party like the Progressive Empowerment Party completely disconnected from the elite society and the 1% that is trying to own Trinidad and Tobago. The questions that have to be asked continuously. I say to you, forget me. You don't have to like me. Ask yourself these questions. Ask it to others. Ask these questions. How does the United States feel about China colonizing Trinidad and Tobago for their Western expansion? Now, in China is not business. China is using this opportunity because China has exceeded their capacity to to live in their country. China needs to spread all over the world. Cancer don't stay in your kidney. Cancer is reach all up in your brain. It's going inside your bone. When the doctors tell you it metastasized, it means it expanded, it spread, it take over the whole host. It makes no sense trying to save it anymore. That's what China is trying to do. And we are facilitating that in Trinidad and Tobago, and we're losing our country. We, the people of Trinidad and Tobago, are losing our country. Your governments, plural, Keith Rowley, Kamala Prasad Bisesa, Bastio Pandey, Patrick Manning, have facilitated this to their own personal enrichment and benefit, and that of their friends and their families. And no organization of state in Trinidad and Tobago is dealing with this. But you have to, or you will lose your country. Which brings me to Roger. Roger and Watson Duke met the media and said that they are going to work together. Ansel Roger is organizing a march called the Mother of All Marches. And they can't tell the Africans and Indians marching together. So they say oil, meat, sugar. Now if you understand the historic significance of oil, meat, and sugar, you would know that Eric Williams was the person who separated oil from sugar. And the man, Tubal Uriah Buzz Butler, was one of the first people who was telling Trinidad and Tobago that the day all of the workers, regardless of oil or sugar, work together, we would safeguard and protect our country, Trinidad and Tobago. But we have to stick a pin there and come back to that. But I want to ask Ansel Roger this morning and Watson Duke, why march? Why are we marching? The country spent $50 million to purchase a report called the McKinsey report that nobody has seen and the media is not discussing. But it is this McKinsey report that Keith Rowley and the PNM are relying to shut down, dismantle, and sell Petrotrin piece to the 1%. We're asking Trinidad and Tobago to listen to this very clearly. Because we either fight to save Petrotrin or we lose Petrotrin. Those are the choices. Listen again. We either fight to save Petrotrin or we lose Petrotrin. This is not about the workers. This is not about the OWTU. This is about the people of Trinidad and Tobago who owns an asset where the OWTU represents the workers that operate that asset. But this is our country and Petrotrin is ours. The Petrotrin that we know today was expanded by the United States Army in the 1940s so that Trinidad and Tobago could provide oil, gas, and aviation fuel during World War II. They expanded it as a gift. We got that as a gift. Trinidad and Tobago was providing oil and gas to fight the Germans and the Nazis. And that's our history. But that is our Petrotrin. That is your Petrotrin and my Petrotrin, whether or not you ever worked for OWTU or not. Everything in this economy, in this country, is tied to Petrotrin. There is nothing in its place. So it remains tied to Petrotrin. The only difference is who owns Petrotrin will call the shots. They are stealing it from you. I hear politicians talk about take national companies and put them in an investment vehicle and sell people shares in that vehicle. And I ask, what manner of bullshit is that? We already own these things. How do you form a company, put my assets in that company, and then sell me shares in this company? My ownership of this company is inherent in the value of the asset that I own. But you do not have governments that have brought to you this factual information. I want you to understand. It is your vote and your support that is being used to cut your throat this morning. The government is relying on you either not knowing or not acting. And you have to decide. I say again, the Trinidad and Tobago, we either fight to save Petrotrin or we lose it. Petrotrin will continue to be the major economic driver in Trinidad and Tobago, but the values of all profits will be put into the pockets of a wealthy 1% who are trying to acquire it at a depressed price because the government broke Petrotrin. This is what Keith Rowley has to say about Petrotrin. Come back to this. Don't get distracted. Stay focused. Please share the video. So if we agree to embark upon a project, I would think that the cost of that project will go into consideration as to whether in fact we do it or we do not do it. I must tell you, probably the highest paid people in the country are at Petrotrin, high quality skills. So I expect good quality estimates, and if they do not have it, they hire people to do it. Again, this is Keith Rowley in 2009. This is a Hansard document. So I expect good quality estimates, and if they do not have it, they hire people to do it. An $850 million project, and now we are talking about a revision to $1.324 billion. This is how Petrotrin ended up in trouble. This here is how. And Malcolm Jones and Ken Julian and Conrad Enel, Karen Nunes Teixeira, and the band of them that worked under Patrick Manning have questions to answer. You will not get those questions asked or answered if you rely on the UNC, who are themselves guilty of massive criminal misconduct when in office. You cannot put thieves to bring thieves to justice. The Progressive Empowerment Party is Trinidad's only hope, and I tell you this without fear of contradiction, that we will embark on not a witch hunt, on a cleansing of the Aegean tables, because the shoveling of this much manure is drowning this country. That is one project. Another project, ultra low sulfur diesel plant. Original estimate when the project was embarked upon, $708 million. It has now gone to $2.4 billion. That is more than 3 times the price. Project administration, original estimate, $192 million. That has now gone to $427 million. 3 times the price. Upgrade of the fuel catalyst unit. The estimate there is now up to $2.1 billion. The CCR platforming unit, there is not an estimate. $665 million. It is now $1.592 billion. The alkalization plant was estimated when it was entered upon at $586 million. It is now $1.8 billion. The offsite and utilities for this whole program was to be estimated in the order. Listen to this one. The offsite and utilities for this whole program was estimated to be in the order of $189 million in 2004. It is now $1.7 billion. That is 10 times the estimated budget. 10 times the approved budget. 10 times. 189 million became 1.7 billion. These words are not my words. These are Keith Rowley's words in the Parliament in 2009. What happened at Petrotrin that the estimates were so wrong, so far out, or worse? What happened that caused us to enter a program where the total, when we entered the program, was $3.3 billion, and we took the decision, yes, we can afford that, $3.3 billion. Most of these programs are not anywhere near completion. When we took a decision to go down that road, 2004, Patrick Manning, 2004, this is 5 years later, 2009, when we took the decision to go down that road, and it may very well be necessary because we have to go into the correct markets and have better products, we took a decision at a cost at the time of $3.3 billion. Today, we are looking at a cost of $9.3 billion. We have to digest that in the context now of the money done. We are now talking about raising revenue to replace this stolen money through additional taxation. Chirrup, chirrup. household by household, land and building taxes, cigarette and rum taxing as revenue-raising measures. Do not be fooled by that. Again, those words are the words of Keith Christopher Rowley in the Parliament in 2009. He sat there from 2004. He said to the nation, I went to the Prime Minister in August 2003 and told him about massive bid rigging at Udicot that was 10 times worse than what took place at Piarco. So besides what Calder Hart was doing at Udicot for billions of dollars with Napa Sapa Tapa Taruba on the government campus and all of that madness, besides that, yeah, we have new cups for sale. It says, miss me with that bullshit. Contact Satish and Felicia. Besides the billions that Calder Hart stole, you see, when Brian Manning and Hazel Breakfasts Manning was stunting for the media, talking about Barry Manning under the cathedral. This is why in the earthquake, the only thing that get damaged, the cross from the cathedral fall and smash. You know why? Only vex God. Only vex God. Trinidad and Tobago. To the people who support the PNM, only get God vex. When only let Brian Manning and Hazel Manning come and talk that bullshit about burying that criminal, Patrick Manning, that rotted criminal, under the cathedral. God shake the country and throw down the cross. You see, I want you bury him there and claim in that cathedral. Despite, aside from Calder Hart's billions that he was stealing through Udicot, for all of them, Calder Hart didn't make off with that money alone. Johnny O'Halloran didn't make off with that money alone. When a PNM thief steals in public office, it is to share. When a PNM minister steals, it is to share. Besides and aside, please share the video right now. They keep interrupting these videos because they know that this is the only source by which Trinidad and Tobago gets information. Please share the videos. Please share. Click share right now. They get God vexed with that nonsense because besides Calder Hart and the estimated $15 billion that disappeared from this country under him and Udicot, Malcolm Jones and Kent Julian, Conrad Enel and the rest, in Petrotrin stole $12 billion. That was $27 billion. Kamala came into office right after and took $25 billion and bailed out Clico. That is $52 billion that was stolen from this country. And neither Manning, Dupree, Jones, Calder Hart, not one of these sons of bitches saw a court, much less a jail cell. $52 billion was stolen from this country in 5 short years. $52 billion? Is this a real country? And we sit down budget after budget and allow ourselves to be painted into a corner, take we little job and hush we mouth because we want to lose the job, not realizing the ground beneath our feet shrinking, that we are pink slip away. When Petrotrin workers had the opportunity to stand up for Trinidad and Tobago, it was ham, lamb and jam in Petrotrin. So they didn't care. So to all the people who are asking me if I am marching with the OWTU, the answer is no. I am not marching with the OWTU.